Thank you. Now, East African Portland Cement has become the latest company in the corporate sector to indicate it will lay off employees due to harsh economic conditions. The cement maker has joined a series of companies issuing job cut statements to employees that will see the number of unemployed individuals grow exponentially in the country. Brenda Kerubo begins this bulletin for us.
East African Portland Cement is set to lay off all of its employees in a restructuring plan. In this memo seen by KTN News, the firm's CEO Stephen Thay says all positions in the company have been declared redundant and will affect both unionizable and non-unionizable workers in the company. The cement maker says the layoffs will help counter losses linked to increased output prices, a sluggish market and production challenges.
What it is doing is restructuring. It has too many employees. Looking at the nature of the work it does and comparable with other companies that are in cement, it has actually double the staff it requires. So it's a hard decision that has been made. Already it has actually retired over 300 employees in this restructuring. This is the second phase. We also be to retire more.
Stanbic Bank Kenya also issued a statement indicating it will lay off nearly 255 employees. The company has offered permanent and pensionable employees a voluntary early retirement package, which they are at liberty to accept or decline.
We've got 1,088 staff. We've put it out to them to say who would like to take advantage of this. Now, out of that staff, a portion of them will apply. We don't expect that it will be all staff, but we expect that there will be some number that will apply, yes.
The commercial bank says the retrenchment plan is aimed at cutting costs.
The cost management regime continues. We want to spend where it's worth spending, where our customers want to spend, and ensure that we just do not spend in places where there's no definite value coming through.
Bamburi Cement, Standard Chartered Bank Kenya, Britam and Telecom Kenya have also laid out plans to shed off thousands of jobs this year in a bid to cut costs and remain afloat. According to the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, high power costs, increased taxes, hurdles in moving cargo and trade barriers have kept the cost of doing business in the country high. Brenda Kerubo, KTN News.
Okay, so it's not just East African Portland Cement. Brenda has a list of other companies that have gone through this, but perhaps East African Portland Cement comes to the fore because every single person has gone home. Brenda?
It's a very sad state of affair because, if you look at some of the listed corporate entities at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, at least 15 of them have issued profit warnings, or rather they have reported weaker losses when it comes to their earnings. And what does this show you? This shows you that these companies are not performing well. And most of them are actually complaining about costs that are associated with the cost of doing business in the country. They're talking about the increasing costs when it comes to hiring people, when it comes to paying people. They're also talking about increased taxes. They're saying the government is increasing taxes every year, and that is making it extremely difficult when it comes to the business environment. So I'll just walk you through some of the companies that have actually fired or laid off quite a number of employees between last year and this year. And we have top of the bracket, which is East African Breweries Limited, that has announced, that is last month, it will fire at least 100 employees. This in a specific business unit that is its business center, that focuses on creating solutions when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales. And it went on to say that, hey, look, we are going to outsource going further. I mean, it has only 5 of these specific centers right across the world. One of it was in Kenya, Nairobi, specifically for the African unit. And now it says we are rethinking about it and we're going to move operations to either Asia or even Europe. That is East African Breweries Limited. We have Telcom. I mean, the entity is merging with Airtel Kenya, and it says we cannot afford to duplicate duties. So we are going to get rid of at least 575 staff. I mean, that is 72% of its workforce. What does that mean? It's left with only 225 staff. That is such a big deal, Linda. We also have Stanbic Bank that, came out today quite bluntly and say that we, of course, are not going to put money where we do not see returns. And also say that anything that, generates cost for the commercial bank is also going to be gotten rid with. So they're saying that, hey, look, yes, we are looking at growing the business, but when it comes to cost cutting, we are going to address some of the key issues, which also also includes the employees. We also have the East African Portland Cement. I mean, that's the biggest story of today. They're saying that they're going to fire all of his staff. I mean, all of his stuff. Just how big is this issue? We're going to delve much deeper into this sooner when we are joined by Patrick Obath, who's the former chair of the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. But just to walk you through Kenya Airways, I mean, it's on a restructuring drive as well. 38 employees lost their jobs in 2017. We have Finlay Flowers in Kericho. I mean, this is a specific company that said, we are tired of getting increment when it comes to pays for the workers. I mean, they're always going on industrial action, lost productivity, so we do not understand the market conditions. Why don't we just close the entity altogether? So they did shut down operations in Kericho. Now, we also have, of course, quite a number of other businesses that have laid workers. We have Nakumatt, the troubled retailer that is trying to get back on its feet right now. It did get rid of about 800 workers when it closed branches in a bid to stay afloat. We had Nestle Kenya, that's the food maker. I mean, 100 employees lost their jobs. This is a global food maker, and you'd like to think it's secure. I mean, your employment is secure, but hey, look, it also laid off quite a number of employees. We also have Athi River Mining. This is also another company that is also facing quite a number of issues, placed under receivership in 2018 amid buyout process. I mean, these are just some of the companies that are facing a lot of headwinds, and they're saying the first thing we are going to do, out with the employees. Let's fix on the other matters. Of course, we have other companies as well, finally, that have gotten rid of workers. We have Deacons East Africa. I mean, this is a clothing retailer that, you know, used to sell quite a number of clothes and as well as employed quite a number of people. It did close operations. We also had Unilever Tea Kenya sent home some 11,000 employees through a voluntary early retirement in 2018. This is another specific sector that we want to delve much deeper with the interview with Patrick Obath, because it's turning out to be sort of the card that employers are using when it comes to getting rid of employees. So, of course, you know, these are just some of the key areas we'll be addressing. And finally, we have companies such as Samia Africa that, you know, fired about 277 workers in 2017 after the closure of Yana Tire's factory. We have Switch TV, very new, TV business that just started. But it said, you know, 7% of its staff is going to be retrenched in the last month. Of course, these are just some of the companies that have announced plans to reduce their labor costs, their plans to get rid of some of the employees, and they're saying just the business environment, the cost of doing business in the country is just too high. And we've tried to talk to the government, but you know, when it comes to reducing the expenses, sorry, but employees have to be the first cut to go.
Yeah, and see, Brenda, the painful bit is now that right now you have more people who will now be unemployed. And then this also touches on the Big Four agenda, manufacturing. This touches on the state of economy. Is it 5 to 6% growth? And if indeed it is, then why are we seeing several companies either downsizing or closing shop? Those are some of the questions we'll ask Patrick Obath, as Brenda has mentioned. Brenda, stay with me, because these are conversations that we will need to have and just get some of the answers.